Saoirse Gaoibh a chuirde agus a chamrádathe. Is me se an punk finín dearag agus da mé arás. Greetings, friends, comrades, and cadres. I'm known as Red Fenian Punk, or Red Fenian Punk Rocker, and I'm back again. I want to talk more again about this dystopian nightmare that we're living in. There was that assassination of that fascist hate monger Charlie Kirk. How that's affected the rest of us again, even though he talked mostly about people in the United States. There was a spin-off of his Turning Point USA group called Turning Point UK, but they were little more than a cult group in university campuses. I hope they don't grow bigger because of the martyrdom of this bastard. Now, the last time I talked about this was the other day, and it was just after he'd been killed, and there was, at the time of recording and uploading, there had been no arrests. Everyone was completely clueless as to who had done this or why or what it was all about. But of course, since then, they've arrested a kid called, or you want to say a kid, he's a young adult, a 22-year-old young male, cis white man, by the way, not a transgender person, not a Muslim, not a black person. And it seems that he's not a leftist. His name's Tyler Robinson. He comes from a very, very right-wing, far-right MAGA cultist family, gun-toting, Bible-thumping types. It's now they're trying to make out that he was living with and dating a transgender woman. He'd been on Discord with leftists and had been radicalized or groomed by these evil cultists and the dangerous radical left that Trump is going on about, into becoming this dangerous, unhinged left-winger who'd, as he claimed in a very suspiciously contrived-looking exchange of messages with his transgender housemate. By the way, she has been cleared of all involvement, but at this very contrived exchange of messages, he claims to have done the deed, had a message or a message or manifesto under the laptop, which he told her to look at, and he told her why he'd done it and all to stop Charlie Kirk's hate and all this. And it was very conveniently pinned all these things that would, incriminate himself. He seems to be a fucking idiot. Very stupid, dumb fuckwit of a person. It could also be an agent provocateur. It could have been an inside job. It could have been, for all we know, it could even have been Trump may have been behind all this. Some people have suggested that he was, because Charlie Kirk did mention the Epstein files, which Trump has tried to bury. I mean, some have even said that Mossad may have been involved because maybe it's just rabid anti-Semitism. He's been criticizing Israel and saying it was a complete fuck up, but I think that was more just down to being an anti-Semite. But he did say that on his last ever podcast the day before he died, where he was discussing and slightly debating with the equally slimy and despicable fascist Ben Shapiro, who is a complete Zio-Nazi. It's difficult to say whether any spy or clandestine terror organization like Mossad or CIA or whoever, FBI, whatever was involved. We do know that he seems like he's either a fall guy or he's either a fall guy, a right-winger masquerading as a leftist to try and incriminate the left, or he could just be an idiot going through a silly phase. I mean, like I say, if I've seen one of these, I've seen 1,000, right-wing parents, very middle class, goes to college and decides to go, oh yeah, let's be a lefty. For anyone who's seen the classic UK TV sitcom from the early 80s called The Young Ones, there was a character in it called Rick who was very much like this. Used to go around snorting at people, going and sticking his fingers up and calling everybody a fascist. And it was one of those types that do that. They posture and shout and scream and show how radical they are. Usually get themselves into trouble, brag about how many times they've been arrested, and then to show off in front of their either communist or anarchist friends. And most of them think, what a fucking idiot, and they kick him out of organizations because they're a liability. Now, it's possible he's one of those. It's possible he's a fake leftist who's just trying to LARP as a left-winger so he can, get the left persecuted and demonized. He's done a very good job of that if that is the case, because Trump, of course, has now said he's trying to clamp down on these radical leftists. That fucking weird freak show J.D. Vance, who appeared on Charlie Kirk's channel or podcast just after he died to do the same thing, saying about unhinged leftists, they're the most dangerous of all. Really? Timothy McVeigh is not as bad as them. Are you fucking kidding me? All these fucking far-right militias that have gone on around, like Pete, that idiot from Pizzagate who decided to shoot up a bloody restaurant in Washington, D.C. He drove all the way from somewhere out in the Midwest or maybe in the South, I forget. But he drove several hours drive to do that because Alex Jones had been stirring up fucking shit about paedophile gangs that never even existed. These people are less dangerous than Antifa? Are you fucking for real? Well, of course, these are fascist cultists. They're going to be dishonest and disingenuous in the extreme all the time regarding this. No surprise there. But anyway, the Heritage Foundation is now really pushing forward to sort of demonize and criminalize trans people. Being an anti-fascist is now pretty much a criminal offense. They've said they've tried to describe Antifa as a terror organization. Now, I won't go on about the fact that people have been talking about Antifa is not a terrorist. It's not an organization. It's a tactic and an ideology and a rough alliance. It's not an organization. There's no leaders and all that. But that's been said enough now. As my friend Lumpen Kelt has pointed out quite correctly, this has been talked about enough. What we need to do is be vigilant and be on guard, because fascists are already weaponizing this and using it to come after us. They're using the laws coming down in the United States behind it as well. This is a very dangerous time. So if you're in the US and you've got a gun and a gun license, make sure you know how to use it and organize among other gun owners as well on the left, especially if you're black or you're trans. I don't know. I have heard that they tried to take the gun licenses off trans people. If they have, then fucking hell, this is nightmare fuel. Now here in the UK, Charlie Kirk. A lot of people my age had never even heard of him, but there was enough of us that had Turning Point UK being a student far right cult, which never really caught on as much, but hopefully it's not going to gain ground now because of the martyrdom of that piece of shite. What did happen, however, was Tommy Ten Names, as we call him. That's Stephen Yaxley Lennon, who goes by the pseudonym Tommy Robinson. Hence us calling him Tommy. Yeah, put my teeth back in. Hence us calling him Tommy Ten Names. Organised a rally along with that vile, hateful, fascist, hate-mongering hag, Katie Hopkins. They were there, photographed smugly smiling together at this rally of something like 200,000 people who marched in through London. I believe there were some scuffles when some anti-fascists turned up to confront them, but it seems like the resistance and pushback to them was minimal. I've watched videos of the mainstream media, which basically said it's not as fascist. It doesn't seem racist to me. It looks like a family outing or something to that effect. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any comment section below. That's what that's for. But the mainstream media is normalizing this. Now, you go back to the 1930s when Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists, or the BUF, also known as the Black Shirts, marched through Cable Street, and they were pushed back and beaten to death. Well, not to death, battered shitless by a bunch of anti-fascist activists. What happens now? Very little. Is it because they're not wearing black shirts and they don't use jackboots and they don't wear swastikas and they don't call themselves fascist? Is this why they're not being resisted and they're being pandered to? Elon Musk did a live show to them in which he called for a literal fascist putsch against the British state. For once, the Labour Party and the shit libs and the Lib Dems and so on and so forth, I think the Lib Dems did, but the Labour Party got a little tiny smidgen of a spine and called for sanctions against Elon Musk, but only because it threatened their fucking power base. When fascists were going around painting flags all over ethnic minorities' neighbourhoods, what was Starmer and his fucking cartel doing? They were cheering this on, saying we love flags and we love the patriotism and people sticking flags on lampposts. They were cheering that on, but now, of course, it's just a little bit too far and it might be a threat to them. You can't pander to fascists. They will come for you, you stupid bastards. You either join them or you'll become the victims of them. But, of course, Starmer's a piece of shit and he's the most disingenuous, colourless, boring motherfucker we've ever had in years yet. Anyway, bourgeois politicians are dishonest and boring. Who'd have thought, eh? But anyway, there was, again, a little resistance to this, which just goes to show how fucked up the left are. And it also makes me think that the left wouldn't waste their time and would not be so reckless as to take out a hit on Charlie Kirk. If this Tyler Robinson was flirting with left-wing politics, he's an idiot who's just trying to look good. But I think it's possible he was also an agent provocateur trying to demonize the left. Either or, it doesn't really matter. If he was left-wing, he's just a fucking idiot who's going through a phase. And this is going to cause a backlash, and the left are vulnerable. So for fuck's sake, get yourself organized now. The march in London was an abomination and a disgusting thing, and it made me feel utter fucking despair. But at least on the Saturday just gone, it's technically just after midnight now, and so it's technically yesterday. But in the city of Ballyahaclia, or Dublin as it's known in English, the capital city of the Irish Free State, there was a march to preserve and promote the Irish language because it's been under threat again from neglect from the the bourgeois politicians, the ones in the north of Ireland, that are hell-bent on destroying it because they hate that dirty, Fenian, bloody language. And those West Brit Irish Free State compradors in Leinster House that calls itself the Dáil. They don't give a fuck about Irish language. I mean, it's a damning indictment on them. The fact that in Cymru, also known as Wales, which remains under English occupation, they speak their own mother tongue far more frequently than people do in the Irish Free State. It's more people in the occupied 6 counties, like the rappers of Kneecap, who have promoted the Irish language, and they've pushed forward again and made it more popular. And God bless them for doing that. They've also been accused of promoting terror, and a lot of us have come back and supported them for that. And good for you, a bit of Irish solidarity and unity. Saoirse go Joe. That gives me a little bit of hope. There were left-wing groups such as I saw banners of on videos of this. I saw banners from Airigi, from Anti-Fascist Action, and various other left-wing groups, which I couldn't even remember half of them. And at least it's good to see them out in force and protesting against the marginalization of the Irish language. As one of it was beautiful also to see that the chants they were using were in Irish. I don't think I've ever seen a march where that would be the case. Of course it would be, because it's an Irish language promotion. One that really stuck out at me was one that said, what was it now? Remind me, I'm trying to remember, my Irish is so bad. Cheergan Changa, Cheergan Anam, if I remember correctly, that's what it was. And I think that translates as land without a language is a land without a name. A land without an identity, essentially. A very true, true word never spoken there. So I'll give absolute love, solidarity, and support to those people. Fuck the far right. Charlie Kirk and fucking good riddance. That's all I can say about him. Tyler Robinson, you're a fucking idiot. Whatever you are, I don't care. But this is something screwy going on with that. Fuck the fascists. Fuck Tommy 10 Names and Katie Robinson. Fuck Elon Musk. Fuck capitalism. Fuck racism. Fuck Zionism and ethnic cleansing. Saoirse don Fallisteen agus Saoirse go Joe. It's Misha an Punk Finin Jalag. Chucky your law. Saoirse go Joe. Slán go fóill.